Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to T3PO Live. I am your host, VashSky, for this evening's ceremonies. And wow, it's very interesting being back in where I usually stream from, in Arizona. And sorry about the delay right there. It appears that somebody's been setting intro and outro clips on here. And, well, that's probably because Hollywood Backlot with Lou and You was just actually hosted by Culture Casino, and I want to go ahead and shout him out and thank him anyway so much for doing that. That was absolutely fantastic and very, very cool. But here, well, to help me with today's theme park stories, well, might be Lou, and it might be a whole gaggle of different people because boy, oh boy, we have some big time stories here, folks. I mean, we really do, and we might actually be breaking not one but two pieces of news. Oof, very, very big. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We have the amazing LW Ghost, also too, with him, Barry Place 28, Nolan Thunder, Erika from Erika and Raph, and Theme Park Wizard. Hello there, everybody.
Wow.
Hi there.
I know. This is a great cast.
I'll say.
Pretty strong.
All we
Pretty
need
strong
is Jerry Mathers as the beaver.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite a bit, I will say. But I think we have somebody on here who can't join us for very long. And I want to go ahead and make sure we get his thoughts right at the top of the show right here. It is the one Theme Park Wizard. Now, Wizard, we were talking in the lead up to this show, actually very early this morning, about what you had to share with us today. Definitely some Hollywood news, but even some bigger Epic Universe news. We'll start out with the Hollywood news. Wizard, how were your experiences at FanFest? What you saw specifically related to One Piece, and maybe what has been hinted at by Hollywood executives now, or I should say Universal creative executives, about the future of the Hollywood Resort.
Well, first, can you hear me?
Yes,
we
can hear you.
Well, dang it.
It's
okay.
It's
it's
decent right now.
We have a plan B this time. Okay, we have a plan B, so let me know if you have to enact the plan B. But FanFest
Plan B is looking pretty good right now. I'm just not gonna lie. not to get this thing out the wrong foot, but
okay.
let's see. Let's cross our fingers here and hope we can get you in. Wizard, please.
Okay. FanFest nights was pretty good. It was pretty crowded last weekend, which is great, and the wait times were still low. Oh no!
Wizard.
Terrible.
We'll have to go to that plan B right there. Nolan, in order to get this plan B into motion, you might have to take over the show for just a brief moment while we actually get this going right here. If you're okay with that, Nolan, I do apologize.
I got you,
Wizard.
Sir. We're all good.
Go ahead and give me a call. We'll see if this works. I have no idea if it even will, to be honest with you. I am rapidly trying to see if it will.
We got to get a big super chat to buy this man a microphone. That's all I got to say.
Well, it's not the microphone. It's actually the it's the
StreamYard.
All right, let me see here.
Don't worry, folks. We're working rapidly behind the scenes to get these servers up and working.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
We have an army of robots.
I'm not doing a damn thing. I know when to let the experts play.
Welcome to the backstage
aside, on the topic of FanFest, I want to ask you guys, what do you think's the coolest thing you've seen from all the stuff that's been breaking out from that? I think you've actually been, haven't you, Bob?
No, I'm actually getting a ticket for the last weekend. In fact, I might be the same time as someone named VashSky. I don't know. So I'll have to meet up with him. But I will say that of all the videos I've been watching, my favorite so far has been Back to the Future. That has been very, very cool. But even some of the stuff I'm hearing about Dungeons and Dragons and the characters from One Piece just sounds like they're really getting into it. And I've also noticed that there have been a few changes, and I think that I don't want to steal his thunder, Sorry, not Nolan's Thunder, theme park Wizards Thunder, but I think he was going to talk about some of those things that they've been doing, and it's really nice to see that they're trying to. They're not just complacent with what they're doing. They're trying to expand and they're trying to make changes as needed, and that's really cool that Universal's even thinking about that.
I find, from what I've seen, they rehearse. They actually get into the parts and rehearse. Instead of just showing up on the day and saying, "Give me my voucher and I'll stand there and pretend." It's just been astounding to me, the level of talent being well utilized, and that beats all the it's the original set. Oh, it's a great backdrop. Oh, it's a great effect with the flame on the ground and the spinning license plate. That's all swell, but that's easy. What's hard is talent, and they've got it. They really do, and they care.
Absolutely. And not to mention, it's another reason why I'm curious for when they eventually bring this thing to Orlando due to the reception, it's been getting. We obviously will be getting some more of these in the future. But, in California, a lot of these people, are trying to make it into the industry, as actors and actresses. So their performances are really, really
poor
good.
Deluded children. Anyway, that was what Batman always used to say to the hench girls, to the bad guys on the show. You poor deluded girl, following a life of crime that way,
But I gotta say, what shows how good it is, because Bob was just talking about, One Piece and Dungeons and Dragons and such, and I was by no means a fan of those franchises. Not that there was any hatred or anything like that, but as someone who was kind of always friends with people into D&D, but not doing it personally myself, walking into the experience, I think stuff like that is perfect for a theme park because you don't have to be an expert in order to enjoy something. They put so much attention to detail. It doesn't matter if it was a attraction based off watching paint dry. If they do it well, it doesn't matter if you're a fan or not.
Isn't that coming to Disney Plus this fall? Paint dry, asterisk.
I believe it. And somehow Bob would still watch it 3 times.
All right, guys. Sorry about the patter there. I think I might need to. Okay, I think I might be able to talk to Wizard, but he might not be able to hear you. That's kind of the interesting thing about my setup right now. There's a way to get this to work on this device right here, but I cannot. And but we really want Wizard's input, so give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and switch machines actually, and then we can go ahead and get him in. Nolan, you're doing a great job. I do apologize for putting you on the spot right here, but sometimes we have some technical difficulties. Trust me, folks, you want to hear Wizard's commentary because it has to relate to the future of Epic Universe, and it's a big deal. Stay tuned. Give me just one moment, please.
Y'all are not going to want to miss that. Bear with us, folks. We're test driving new horizons here, but it's hopefully going to result in some much better performances in the future. It's going to be really techie and cool, so give it time. But anyways, while we're waiting for Vash, Erika, I want to ask you, so what do you think has been the key thing that's been for you with the FanFest stuff emerging? Do you have any desires, what you'd like to see going forward, or give me your thoughts on everything?
Absolutely. Back to the Future. That's number one. And Raph was watching the videos, was it last week? And he just sat there and he's like, "Did you know about this? I didn't know they were doing this." I said, "You've known. You're just not paying attention. That's all we've been talking about." "Oh, I want to go." "I know you want to go. And had we had the money, I would have taken you for your birthday."
Oh.
He's like, "Well, what about next year?" I said, "Lucky for us, they're bringing it to Orlando." And he looks at me and he says, "No, I want to go to the one in California."
Aha.
I'll tell you, Erika, it was kind of a miracle that we were able even to go earlier last week as it was. So I was kind of surprised that they were doing it in such a limited amount of time. And I just really hope that they completely blow away their numbers, because this is coming to Florida. Like, imagine what kind of potential is going to come like next year. I think we're definitely going to see something go bigger with One Piece. But are there any franchises do you think that could be in the pipeline? I
have a question on this. Like, what in California, it seems like they just have the backdrop for these, especially for Back to the Future, obviously, because they still have like the filming lot or whatever. How are they going to bring that to Orlando? Are they going to build like a set to scale like that? I mean, what can we expect in Florida? Because in California, it's just like chef's kiss, for any Back to the Future fan.
No, you present a wonderful question here. And personally, I don't think they're going to go for something as major in scale with Back to the Future if it's coming to Florida, because, this year was a huge anniversary. I'm sure they want to bring in some new things that haven't been done yet before. But if there's one thing Universal has shown is they usually work with their strengths, like they have to build on like a hill, like the mountain and all that. They did that with the Fast and Furious ride, they had to deal with some terrain issues, but they still made what's looking to be a wonderful ride as a result. They might not have all the perks of, California sets, but if everything that's been happening in Florida with Epic Universe shows us, maybe they'll find something that they can really capitalize on the Florida market and do something new. I'm sure there's going to be more construction than probably required in California, but
the question
got a lot more room
is,
to work with.
Which park will they use?
Oh yeah, that too.
Because assuming they haven't already started to do whatever they're finally going to do with all that Atlanta stuff, there's a great backdrop for something. I don't know what, but Islands might be the place to do this.
And I counter you, Lou, because I think you could see that in normal Universal Studios because, there's so many rumors going around about, is Men in Black going to stick around? We know for sure pretty much at this point Simpsons Ride's going to be gone. If they need to wall those sections off for a while to spend a good, 2 years for some production, I could see them wanting to go for that park to have something going on while they're doing construction. Maybe make some new attractions in the
they've got the parade, and they've got they've got the things they have done there recently. So I'm just thinking the most neglected at this point. Not that there's anything wrong with it; it's a great park. Is Islands, and who knows? Who knows?
Mm-hmm. I think we have more information to add to that one, Lou. If you can hear me.
Yes, we hear you.
Cool.
Loud and clear.
Wizard, do you hear them, and can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Much better.
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
Better.
Nice.
Finally got it. Sorry about that, guys. I very much apologize.
Whee!
Wizard, your experiences with FanFest nights, specifically related to One Piece, and what you've been experiencing out there.
Oh, yeah. So like I was saying, FanFest Nights was fantastic. It was very crowded the last couple of weekends, which is good. And the anime stuff has been the most popular. In fact, a lot of the One Piece merchandise is sold out and is not being replenished. So we saw straw hats everywhere you went, at least the last weekend and the prior weekend. So and the lines, I can never actually see the One Piece characters because there's a whole bunch of people in line for them. So that's how popular these One Piece characters are. So if it comes back next year, if One Piece comes back, I hope they bring back that Waterworld One Piece overlay because clearly there's some big demand for it.
Huge demand. I mean, if you're having to move over merchandise related to Back to the Future, as you can see right here, the big Back to the Future display that they actually had over there at FanFest Nights, if you have to move that over for One Piece, that just tells you the amazing draw that is. And Nolan, I think you were reporting, or maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was somebody else, that maybe like 30-minute lines. I think maybe it was Ivan actually from Park Hoppin'. 30-minute lines for individual characters related to One Piece. And then like all those characters, and then they would all kind of meet up at the very end right there. Wizard, has that been consistent with what you've been hearing?
Yes, hearing and seeing, because those lines easily look about 30 minutes each time I walk past them, because there's just a whole bunch of people everywhere sneaking around, and it's not just one character, but all the characters of the One Piece, other names, but all the characters have like these long lines sneaking in around the plaza, which is it's insane.
Yeah, very, very big indeed. And so when we talk about the future of Hollywood and what actually might be coming, I believe Universal executives have been a little bit more open about revealing that possibly in the next 5 years, we're getting some significant expansion correlating with the rumors that you originally talked about on this show, months ago now?
Yeah, that's right. They finally, the studio tour guides have been continuing to mention this 5-year plan that includes, I don't know what exactly, but we'll see what it is. But part of the new 5-year plan is the making it a resort feel. And over the weekend, they're testing out the new security procedures for City Walk to enclose City Walk in the bubble. And they started moving the ride share pickup, and they started testing the new security layout in the Jurassic parking area. And they even put up a camera, or like a surveying camera, or just some sort of GoPro camera pointing towards the area where the hotel is supposed to be built. So hopefully that indicates construction on that will start pretty soon, or it's opening in 2028.
That's massive. That's some big time stuff. And then on the flip side, I know you guys on this panel here, we're talking about the future of Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure, all the stuff going on at the Universal Orlando Resort. I know you have a little bit more information than you can reveal here, Wizard, because I know you kind of been sworn to secrecy on a lot of these different elements and different things. But I think we can reveal at least one maybe upcoming expansion that has been long rumored, and that is to Epic Universe proper, specifically related to those expansion pads. Can you give us an idea of what to expect there, and maybe what you've been hearing or seeing in the?
Yes, it's pictures of the big flat area that's big dirt next to Super Nintendo World. It has a new crane on it and has a lot of construction workers going in and out this week. So it seems like, and I've been hearing that they, at the media event or sometime around there, they may announce a formal announcement for an expansion, but it looks like that Zelda expansion is finally starting this week, with the side prep happening right next to Super Nintendo. Actually, they've been posted on social media from the Helios Hotel and areas within the park, which is super exciting. That should open in 2027 with the movie.
Wow.
Zelda? Let me repeat this for y'all.
Zelda? So are we going to hear that the Hulu deal finally ended and they know how much money they're getting and that's paying for this?
Well, that's an interesting point to make right there. It could actually be the case.
It's like Disney's check cleared. You can bring in the cranes now.
Zelda might actually be coming to Epic Universe as early as a couple of years, starting maybe this week. In terms of construction for that, you can see what the expansion pads actually look like right here for Epic Universe. You can see right next to Nintendo, actually in between Super Nintendo World and Dark Universe, what that expansion pad actually looks like, and what it actually looks like from aerial photography from BioReconstruct here. A lot of people have always thought that this is kind of the place where you build a Nintendo expansion. It's right next to the existing Nintendo footprint right there. They didn't develop this land for a reason, from what I'm told. Like, they didn't concrete it over, which is what they usually do with expansion pads. No, they kept it dirt because they knew they were going to be moving on this very, very quickly. So you heard it right here from Theme Park Wizard. We do believe that Zelda is coming.
Do we believe it'll get a separate portal out there on the other side of the store, or will it just be connected to all the other Nintendo stuff?
Wizard?
Oh, it'll be a separate portal. It might also be connected to the Nintendo stuff, but also be a separate portal.
Wow. That store suddenly becomes bracketed by wonderfulness, doesn't it?
Pretty ambitious indeed.
It'll be interesting to see what they end up calling the Zelda expansion, because as we've seen in California and Orlando and probably Tokyo as well, it's one of those where they call it Super Nintendo World, but it's going to now be seen as the Mario area, unless they're also going to call the Zelda expansion something Nintendo themed. Like, I wonder if we could maybe retroactively see a name change on that. Does anyone else disagree?
Well,
I agree that they already figured it out and we don't know, but they do.
True.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Yeah.
But Nintendo World already encompasses, Mario and Donkey Kong. So if they bring in Zelda, in a way, they wouldn't need to change the name. But
that is true.
I get what you're saying.
And
I
there's
get what you're
already
saying
Zelda
because
stuff in that store out front, right? In the
Yeah.
stained glass windows and things. So
the main
Definitely.
draw is Super Mario Brothers, so that seems it's easy to just call it Mario Land, versus Nintendo World. But
Very true. And not to mention, as Lou Dunn was saying in the chat, and I've seen it in person too, there's actually some Pikmin Easter eggs scattered throughout the land too. So it is actually a little bit of a combination there.
yeah.
So whereas Zelda might actually be able to get the specialty treatment of like everything just themed to Legend of Zelda, and that's going to be an immersive universe with a lot of demand. Like Vash, you were saying that Zelda's been confirmed. I think Happiness has been confirmed for the next few years if that's coming to town.
Well, let's put it this way. At the recent meeting of the minds of the various folks, some of whom are here, the wonderful Valiant Renegade supposedly made his famous gumbo, right? And in gumbo, one of the key ingredients is bay leaves, and bay leaves are made from the laurel, the bay laurel. Let's just say that just like Valiant with his gumbo, Universal refuses to rest on their laurels. How's that for a stretch?
That's pretty good. That's pretty. I wouldn't have made those connections, but I'm glad we had somebody.
Well, this is
with
what
a,
comes from being a chef, So.
Yeah, a culinary expertise that could. That's pretty good right there. But speaking of pretty good things actually happening at Epic Universe, before we get into maybe some bad things, but I'm sure Wizard could help us out with some of those as well.
You want to carry? Wait. You want to carry that analogy one step further? Do you remember the line in Patton that he quotes about how when the conquering Roman generals would come back to Rome and be in a procession, there'd be a slave standing behind them with the laurel wreath over their head, whispering in their ear that all glory is fleeting. Maybe Big Bob can be in a parade like that.
Oh man! Oh boy!
Boy.
That would be definitely
all glory is fleeting, Bob. Even if you build a building and tear down a firehouse to do it.
The competition is getting very, very fierce, as you can see right here from this footage provided by Ron of Follow the Bradley's Fun. Definitely follow him over there at his channel. But the competition is getting fierce, and it's getting more intense as the days proceed on, especially as we lead up to the opening of Epic Universe. By the way, folks, tomorrow is going to be the earnings call for Disney, and I'm sure if I was like Bank of America or Morgan Stanley or any of those other financial institutions that are going to be there listening to the earnings call and being able to ask questions, I would definitely be asking about this one because this is going to be a big disruptor over there in Central Florida based on Disney's actions. But speaking of that disruptor, Wizard, you noticed this earlier on the calendar. Now, there is an update to this, folks, so don't be alarmed by what you read initially. But Wizard, you discovered that the operating hours for Epic Universe were posted, and for the week that you saw, at least very, very initially, it had Epic Universe closing at 7 p.m., which is very, very early, as one could surmise. But they did update this, and now those same operating hours have been posted at 9 p.m., which is very, very good.
The difference being the sun goes down and you can have fireworks.
Yes. So,
Yes.
About to say the bingo hall's open later than that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, but they don't close. They just stay there for 24/7,
And then
365.
Scott Gooston actually updated and said that the opening hours for Epic Universe, at least on the opening day, May 22nd, have been updated to reflect the new closing time of 10 p.m. Now that yes, that is 1 hour additional than what they originally posted. Now on this shot right here, you can actually see early admission at 8 a.m. It looks like that isn't the case. Early admission is not available, at least on the first day. But c'est la vie. I mean, 1 more hour in the park as it closes is a good deal.
Just on a practical basis, you have to assume that the opening day, there will be some kind of massive, lower the drawbridge to all the children of the world opening ceremony at the front gate. And if people are already in there milling around because they got in an hour early, that would kind of lose its specialness. So that makes sense that they would not have early admission on that one day.
On the topic of the late departures, I gotta say that would actually be really good on Universal's decision making. That there was a lot of backlash on that for them to make a change and a course correction that quick. I have to give them props and credit where it's due.
It makes you wonder if the original announcements was a trial balloon and to see what feedback they got, and they were already ready with this. So, because they just seem to play 3D chess, they seem to be ahead of things. So that's just the way I feel. So,
the other thing is typically theme parks stay open, later during holiday weeks. This is a holiday week that they're grand opening, and I'm going to be there that holiday week. And I got to be honest with you, when I was like 9 to 9, really? I mean, yes, we're getting there an hour early, but come on, go at least until 11. And the fact that they've upped it to 10 makes me feel a lot better. It's like, okay, I've got 1 extra hour. I'm hoping that 1 extra hour helps with people getting through Battle of the Ministry, because I really want to go on that ride. And I keep seeing that a lot of people are having a hard time getting on that ride, obviously through the previews right now. But I'm really excited and happy to see that, it's going till 10 p.m. during that week.
Wizard, your thoughts, and is this consistent with what you've been hearing? I believe we'd had discussion about this, and you were the one that brought it up, that they were going to be staffing up as time went along, and with that staff up, allowed them for longer hours. Are you surprised by this, or do you expect opening times to be maybe longer?
Yeah, well, I was very happy that it changed. I was like, 7 o'clock. I was like, what the heck? But then I'm so glad they updated it to 9 o'clock. And there's a few 10 p.m. days in June as well. But I guess later on this summer, I still heard that those midnight closings are coming. So hopefully that will be later in the summer. But 10 p.m. is certainly much better than 9, 8, or the ghastly 7 p.m. That's quite insane. But yeah, it also makes hope for that nighttime show, which I know they're testing that nighttime show yesterday. So hopefully it'll be ready to go for opening week.
Yeah, the nighttime show is I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. A lot of people are looking forward to the fireworks, that huge fireworks display. We actually had some video of that. I believe it was a couple of weeks ago now that they were testing that. It was one of the largest fireworks displays in Central Florida at the time that was produced right there. So it's pretty stunning and pretty great to see. Erika, I mean, I know you might not have visited Florida for a little while, but are you happy to see the lengthened hours? Or is there anything that you are wanting to see enacted when it comes to the hours or operational I don't know, management of this park that hasn't been implemented yet?
Yeah. I wish they would just set the time and be consistent, because my only concern is, we haven't booked anything, and I was home last year. So it's been exactly a year since I've been in Florida. And I don't know, it's kind of disheartening to hear that, you have people that purchase tickets for like May 22nd, and they're going to close at 10, I guess, or 9. And then later in the summer, they're going to have, closures at midnight. And I wish they would just set a time and keep it, because it's just unfair for some people that can get in and will be there at 9 or 10. It's not fair to them, because then people later in the summer that are going may be able to stay till midnight. And everybody wants to see this park, in its glory in the evening, and spend as much time as possible in this park, and I just wish they would be more consistent with that and push it to 11, push it to midnight. Like, I get overhead and whatever, but you know what? You kind of said, to hell with the money, just create to your creatives. So why not just trust that, the money will come? People will stay later. They will.
You mean if you build it, they will come? We haven't heard that.
Right. So
not to mention, you'd want to be able to reward the people who, had done all that work to try to make it, that first week or month, whatever, of operations. We've already seen, a lot of people, get some chance to go early, in advance, rewarding, the pass holders and all that, or whatever ever influence they have. Later on in the year, if they expand those hours, you'll have perks of being one of the later ones. It'd be nice if they could do something that could really be a great perk for, hey, you guys came in early, and this is what we want you to be doing to be a part of something that's going to be a major life-changing event going forward in the zeitgeist of theme parks and culture,
Yeah, but it is still in rehearsal. You are being let in to watch them work, not to watch them say it's done, enjoy it. And so these things, that happens. Now,
still,
of course,
it's a full price rehearsal.
That's, of course, the problem. And that is a problem that I have personally been so opposed to with Broadway shows that start out somewhere else and move towards New York. And a friend of mine used to be a conductor for such shows. And they played, for example, one show for, I think it was 6 weeks at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in downtown LA, still on its way to New York. He said there were literally no two performances that were the same. They made changes every single day, but people were paying full price. So if they made a change, it's because whatever you saw tonight, they didn't like, and they wanted to make it better tomorrow night. So there's that. But that's unfortunately been built into our pricing culture for entertainment.
There definitely is that. I will say, just to defend Universal just a little bit, you are talking about staffing up a park that probably, you're probably going to take about 10,000 team members to actually fully.
Sure, all venues, all hours, everything. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And so I could definitely see the challenges in attempting to staff up for extended hours off the bat. Should they have allowed themselves the time in order to do that properly? Yes, I do believe so, and I think Erika is right. I think they should have provided those hours initially. However, if the job market or labor market is at issue, and maybe you couldn't facilitate those hours initially, I am glad to see that they are at least trying to facilitate longer hours, and that the hours are moving in the right direction, going from 7 to 9, 9 to 10. I think is very, very good. So I'm hopeful we'll get to see those midnight closings very, very quickly, and I'm hoping it's going to be a permanent thing with this park. But the fact that they are moving in that direction is at least, I don't know, it's hopeful, I guess, is what I can say about that. But one thing that isn't hopeful, though, go ahead, please.
Well, I say specifically to Bob, because I know he's saying that extra hour hoping he can get on Ministry, which he probably helps out. But still, don't be surprised to see Ministry close earlier than the rest of the park for the day, because they really need to work on that one all night long to really fix that ride vehicle issue. So don't be if you can't go on at that extra hour, don't be too surprised. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think that's really
true. Good point.
To say, we saw that a little bit with Rise of Resistance. Now, previously, Disneyland was like, hey, parks open 8 to 12, parks open 8 to 12, and that's all rides. Maybe not all facilities, but all rides for sure. That's changed a little bit over the years, and I think the notable example of that being Rise of Resistance, where it closes like an hour, 2 hours early than the park. That's really unfortunate. But speaking of reduced capacity and unfortunate things happening, let's go ahead and talk about this article here from Marvin Montanaro on That Park Plays. Epic Universe faces backlash over Harry Potter virtual queue glitch that allowed users to join from home over in-park guests.
Oh my goodness.
May 5th, 2025.
Oh my gosh.
Universal Orlando's upcoming theme park, Epic Universe, isn't even officially open yet, but it's already facing mounting pressure from theme park enthusiasts due to serious issues surrounding one of its most anticipated attractions. Harry Potter and the Battle of the Ministry has captured the imagination of early guests with its stunning visuals and next-gen ride technology. But the ride is also drawing criticism, not just for its design, but I should say not for its design, but for the Harry Potter virtual queue system guests are required to use. On X, the account Epic Universe Updates shared a photo and message that sent shockwaves to the Orlando theme park community. Here it is. I was able to get in the 6 p.m. Harry Potter Battle for the Ministry drop today from home in my pajamas without a valid ticket for that day at the park. I made magic for a friend who was in the park. This is very, very concerning. Because
somebody goofed. They'll fix it.
I hope they do.
Again, they're rehearsing everything, and
that's true.
I think they would have already had the locations restricted to that area, though. I remember back when I used to work at an Amazon warehouse. It was back during the lockdown times, if you want to call it that, and they were having employees clock in with their phones. I remember there was a worker at one point who was clocking in and out and basically collecting a paycheck without actually being in the building. They found out and he got terminated. But, in a post...
sounds almost like government work.
Prepared for this.
Indeed. I mean, it's look. Here's the thing about all this. Nobody likes the virtual queue system to be used, but for a theme park attraction that is having problems with getting up to its theoretical maximum capacity, I can understand, and limited hours at the park, of course, and everything else. I can understand why you would implement a system like this, because it is a fact that not every single person who's going to be able to get into Epic Universe is going to be able to ride. There's just not enough capacity to provide for something like that. In a theoretical scenario, let's say this ride does 2,000 per hour. Well, if the park's only open for 12 hours, that means you have a maximum capacity for that day of 24,000. Well, we know that this park can hit maybe up to 50,000 according to Wizard. I think it's more close to 35, but hey, you know what? Let's see what the Epic Ops actually end up doing. Well, whether it's 35 or 50, that's still a long way from 25, or 24, I should say, 24,000. And that's why they would implement a virtual queue system like this. The problem, though, is that we're not only hearing reports of people able to get in 2 times or 3 times, get every single one of those drops, but now you can get them without even a park ticket. Again, with each one of these things, that reduces how many different people can actually ride this ride, and that should very much be addressed before opening. This is a huge one.
Well. We just talked about expanding the Zelda stuff. We know about other expansions they've talked about, like the Harry Potter dining experience at Hogwarts or whatever they're going to do over there. Sooner or later, the whole point is to have more to do in this park than you can do in one day. So if we say, well, the capacity is 25 and they only get 12 or whatever the numbers are, that's part of that. It's come back tomorrow and do the stuff you didn't do today, and eventually they'll let you do that. So it's all a work in progress towards being a typical, ordinary, look, the fact that you can do everything at Animal Kingdom in a half a day is not a good thing because there's so few things to do. So I think this will all sort itself out. I think that's a mistake. I think they'll fix it. And, they listen. We know that. We know that based on what they've done in the past.
They do listen, that's for sure. Wizard, have we heard anything about this, by the way? Have they heard about these issues and are looking to address it? Have you heard anything about this, or do you expect maybe that Universal Operations will get this right? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I'm sure they heard all about it. I know they watch the social media, but I'm sure people fill out surveys and stuff. But yeah, I'm sure they'll get the thing where you can get one from your bed. I'm sure they'll get that one fixed, because in Hollywood, that was not possible. So it's certainly, they know how to do it, at least over here in Hollywood with the virtual lines, because you couldn't get one enter the park. So I'm sure they can easily fix that if they really wanted to, pretty quickly. But
let's point out go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say, hopefully the virtual queue line itself by the fall will be gone, because this ride wasn't, at least rumored, wasn't supposed to open into the fall. So the fact that they didn't want that would be a bad look. So they wanted to get it open. So this virtual line is kind of the only solution until hopefully the fall, when maybe the standby line could be offered, because it could hold up to a 7-hour queue. So hopefully later on this summer, early fall, virtual line will be totally over with anyway. So Fingers crossed.
Well, if the other factor to consider is if people can do it in their pajamas, there's going to be hotbeds of people in Walmarts all across the country booking in. But anyway,
Yeah. Not the Walmart crowd. We know all about that Wizard about Celine Dion and all that kind of stuff. Oh boy. I remember back in the day when you had Rise of Resistance when it first opened at Disneyland back in January of 2020. And I remember having to go through the virtual queue system, and
it was the ultimate pain.
One shot. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, it was painful. Like you'd get there, like even before the park officially opens, you'd have all these crowds, people just waiting for them to drop the link, and you'd be in these, you'd have these massive crowds just standing there inside the park, and then you get a few different celebrations and stuff like that. You'd hear from different people. You'd see other people on the sidewalk just upset and feeling the tragedy of them not getting in. Sorry if I walked over you a bit, but it's just one of those where it was great if you got in. If you didn't, it was devastating. And especially if it was a main draw to your trip, especially this is back before, Star Wars had been kind of damaged so much by what sequels had came afterwards. Like I know we were pretty close to Rise of Skywalker around that time, but there was still some hope that the brand would rebound, and everybody wanted a chance to experience this major Star Wars ride after the disappointment of Smuggler's Run. And for you having to basically plan all your trip around even just the chance to get to ride this ride, it was not a great system. And honestly, I feel like it's better to go with the avenue of 9-hour to 10-hour wait times and try to get there as early as you can. But as we know, Bob Chapek put his foot in his mouth and basically called the Hagrid ride that came out a few months prior to this one a failure if you have 10-hour wait times, and they couldn't have that happen. Nowadays, it's Bob Iger back in the regime, and those words are several years old now. So I don't know why Universal even has to go the virtual queue system. Maybe, I'm sure there's numbers I don't see, but it's clearly not making people too happy.
Let's remember the core reason for a virtual queue. It all goes back to the story that Van France told about being with a theme park expert who they actually hired at Disney back in the early days, and looking at all the people standing in line, and Van saying, wow, we're finally doing well. And the theme park guy said, no, because when they're standing in line, they're not buying drinks, they're not buying merch, they're not doing other things. You need more rides. Well, the whole point of a virtual queue is to let you do all that stuff while you are, fingers quotes in the air, waiting in line. It's letting you multitask and spend money. So there is a method to the madness,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely perks of it and enjoyable avenues of it. It just sucks that there's just such a random thing of one of the biggest things of your trip, especially with the talk that Universal's going to have it for more than just one of their premier rides, Epic. I just feel like you're going to come back from your trip and talking to people, and it's like, hey, did you get to do XYZ, the big names? And they're like, no, I didn't even get a chance. And I know that gives you more reason to come back, but it can't help but make you feel a little bit cheated. But to your point, Vash.
Well, I remember when Bob Chapek actually said about Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, that opening, I want to say that was back in 2018, 2017. I can't remember which year that attraction opened. I do apologize. Island of Adventure, right? And that line was 10 hours long, I believe, the first day or something like that. I mean, it was very, very long. And I remember Bob Chapek saying that if you have 10-hour lines at your park, you have failed. And that's when they implemented the virtual queue system, and that's what changed theme parks forever when it came to the opening of big attractions like this. I will say I think it's gotten better over the years, because like Nolan, you pointed out initially, I mean, it was one drop, and that was it. That's all you had. I remember John Campia going on a huge rant about going to Disneyland, staying at the Grand Californian, and not getting the drop, and not being able to ride Rise of Resistance, a ride that he flew out to sea, because there was only one drop, and that was it. Now there are multiple. back in the day, I mean, I remember having to map out like where my cell phone coverage was and doing ping and speed tests all around the park and seeing what where best to actually get a drop and practicing. I practiced for weeks leading up to that point in order to get those drops right there. And now we have a series of 3 drops, and there might be an extra add-on charge where, kind of like Disney, where they have a Lightning Lane you can buy in if they do have virtual queue on any of their attractions. There are other ways to do this. I'm hoping for a good experience in regards to this in the future, because here's the thing, folks. If you're thinking that virtual queue might only be in use for a specific attraction for a specific amount of time, think again. This might actually be expanded at Epic Universe. Here we go from Marvin Montero again. Universal may use deeply unpopular and controversial virtual queue for Epic Universe lands, sparking major guest concerns. This was posted this morning here, just when guests thought that the virtual queue system at Universal Orlando couldn't get more frustrating. A quiet update on the resort's website has ignited a fresh wave of anxiety, this time about access to entire lands within Epic Universe. According to the latest language on Universal Orlando's official virtual line webpage, the resort now lists, quote, world entry at Universal Epic Universe as one of the experiences that may require a virtual line return time. This alarming phrasing has fans and guests wondering if the flawed queue system currently tied to Harry Potter and the Battle for the Ministry may soon be expanded to control access to themed lands themselves. You can see what that post actually looks like right here. Look, if you have portals that vary in terms of their demand and enthusiasm, how else do you curtail or control demand if not implementing a virtual queue system? That's the thing. We saw this at Hollywood when Super Nintendo made its debut. They actually did implement an entire land virtual queue for Super Nintendo World upon its opening, and actually I think that system is still in place and they can activate it at any time, and I think it has been recently. Wizard, your thoughts on all of this right here? What can fans expect when they see Epic Universe for the first time?
Well, virtual queue for the land, I do think that will go if they implement it, likely for only Nintendo, but if they implement it for that or Dark Universe, I feel like it'll go pretty well, because I actually really like the virtual line here in Hollywood, how they don't have these drops. It's just they just populate the times randomly throughout the day, like all day long, and then sometimes within 5 minutes you get a little section. You can even choose your time, so you can choose to go at nighttime if you want. So it's a little bit of a different system than Orlando, but that's because it's for our lands. Well, for Secret Life for Pets too, but for our land, Super Nintendo World, it was very easy really to get in. I was never locked out for more than 10 minutes, which is cool. But even then, I still think they let too many people in, because when I was in, and this is the problem if you don't get the virtual queue or have a system, you go in, and then they really pack that thing to the grills. I'm like, I don't know how anyone can have fun in here, because you couldn't even see the ground. I mean, the Mario Kart line was 3 hours, and you couldn't even see the ground. The game's lines were snaking all around. So like I said, even with the virtual queue, I think they're still letting a little bit too many people in. So then I had my virtual queue. I walked in, I looked around, and I walked right back out in 10 minutes because I couldn't move anywhere. So that's why I'm very much in favor of a virtual line system for these to be activated for some lands if they get too crowded. Because having experience being in a very crowded land myself, it was just not fun. So I'd much rather wait or go a different time later on in the evening and have it be able to actually do stuff. So. Likely though, it'll probably be implemented just for Nintendo, because I'm just from what I've seen from the previews, Nintendo's the most crowded, and then Dark Universe because it's small, and maybe Harry Potter. I don't think Isle of Berk will be implemented too much because it's like the biggest one out there, but it's really probably just for Nintendo and Dark Universe sometimes. But I think it'll be a much more, unless they let too many people in like in Hollywood, I think it'll be a much more pleasurable experience than people may be expecting.
Erika, does that give you some concern?
I mean, it's a little comforting, but still concerning. I think the problem with the virtual queue system is there's this fear that you're you're not guaranteed to get on those big e-ticket rides. And when you're planning such an expensive vacation, you have this expectation that's like the goal. You want to go on those e-ticket attractions. And at least with Disney, the virtual queue, in theory, was not a bad idea. But they used to have the fast pass system or even the tiered fast passes where when you're planning your vacation, you could reserve at least 3 e-ticket attractions per vacation. And Universal, as great as they're doing right now, I think could kind of go back to those old Disney days, take some notes, and maybe implement some of that into this because it did work very well. And by and large, people were able to get on those e-ticket attractions back in the day when it was a fast pass system versus what happened post-pandemic, and what we've been forced to deal with. I I know for us, we're from Florida, so if we don't hit it on one visit, we can always say, okay, we'll just get it on the next visit. But not everybody is a Floridian. Not everybody has family there and has a reason to keep going back multiple times throughout, a given year. People for the most part live out of state or out of country, and they're really planning and budgeting for a vacation like this. And they really want to get on, these big attractions, and they want to, in a way, be guaranteed that they're going to see at least the top 2-3 things they want to do. And for Epic Universe, it's going to be, for the most part, Battle at the Ministry and Monsters Unchained. Now, maybe for the little ones, depending on your family, obviously will depend on, what those big must-dos are going to be. But those, by and large, are going to be crazy popular. We're talking like Hagrid's was when they opened, and there was recorded about a 13-hour wait for Hagrid's, and that hit the news.
Yeah, it was long.
That's all true. That's all very true. And I hate to be a broken record, but I want to remind you that for the majority of people who are drawn to this park by all the attention and all the hype and all the anticipation, Islands is a new park too. Studios is a new park too. Volcano Bay, open or closed, is a new park too. So if you say, well, did you get on the Harry Potter? I wanted to, but the virtual queue and everything, but I did go on the ones at Islands and Studios. That was great. It's not the same thing. It's a consolation prize. I understand that. But all I'm saying is the real threat to the mouse is not just this park. It's that this park will expose people who never, ever tried the other ones to the other ones.
Yeah. Right. And that's the strategy. That is the strategy they're clearly using.
Go ahead, Wizard.
And you never know also how operationally it can work, right? Because let's say they have to do a line for a landing that's busy. But let's say they, cut it off a little bit early, like whatever the capacity is. And then, because you said those people vacationing, right? Likely if they're spending all that money, they're going to get an express pass, right? So maybe it's a virtual queue for people. But if you have an express pass, you can bypass it and go into the land anyway. You don't know how they might structure some of these things. Because, if you're paying for an express pass, that's a lot of money. So they may, again, save few spaces for express pass holders and bypass the virtual queue, and everyone else has to do a virtual queue. But you never know how it works.
And we know, for example, they've got that they will be renting these individual portals, individual lands out to corporations and special conventions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some will be closed early or all day, yeah.
And so if you were going that day and you wanted to go on that at night and see it, and you can do the rest of the park with your admission, but you can't do that. And they tell you tonight, Nintendo will be closing at 6:00 for a special event. Thanks a lot, but you have to have that pass. Oh, I feel cheated. Well, that's the rules of the game. That's the nature of the beast. And if the rest of it's as good as I think it is, you might have a moment of pout in you, but you might say, yeah, but the rest was really good. And you might see things that you might not have gone on had you dedicated your entire trip to standing in a 10-hour line for one ride. So there's yin and yang to this.
Yeah.
And also,
And
you
me and
know,
Raph,
yeah, those people that are coming in, they're usually gonna stay for like so many days. Like I've booked many of my epic trips that I booked for people are like 7 or 8 days. So if you can't get on one thing one day, they got 7 other days to do it. So I'm sure they'll get everything eventually, you know.
and me and Raph fall into that category. We have not hit the Universal parks since the first Harry Potter land opened. So we haven't even been to the other one yet. So we do fall into that category. But there again, we're also Floridians, and it's like if we miss something, it's like meh. We know we're going to come back to see family, and we'll just get it on the next trip. A lot of other families will have to. They don't have the spontaneity like we do. Like we have that luxury, but not everybody has that. But we'll see what happens. I mean,
even the
Universal.
spontaneity changes as times change.
Oh yeah.
I was born in Santa Monica and grew up in the West LA and Beverly Hills, and Disneyland was always like a half-hour drive down the freeway. And then it was a 40-minute drive, and then it was a 2-hour drive, and then it was a 2.5-hour drive. Same park, same location, same me, same origin, same destination. So, the situation changes for all kinds of reasons like that.
I want to toss it to Bob just real fast because I know he has to depart, unfortunately. Bob, your thoughts on all of this, and where can the people find you after those thoughts? You are muted.
You're muted.
He left already.
Sorry, I did not leave. No, someone. Sorry, I had someone knocking on the door, so I had to answer my office door there. But anyhow, so I'm really happy to see the hours have expanded. As far as the whole virtual queue, I'm really I'm anticipated to see what they're going to do, and I hope that it works out. But at the same time, I'm really, really nervous because I really want to be able to experience everything. Like Erika was saying, she's got family in Florida. I don't. I'm from out of state, and I really want to experience this. And they're only allowing people to go one day right now. So I'm looking forward to this, amazing park opening up and checking it out. But if I get to experience most of the park that I wanted to, I'll be happy. But obviously disappointed if I don't get to, see and do everything. But I'm really looking forward to Epic Universe no matter what. And it's going to be a great vacation, heading out there. And hopefully maybe Nolan will meet up and a few other people. It'd be great to see them as well. But I still think it's going to be, good. And I'm glad to see that Universal's listening to people. And they're also already making some changes. And hopefully they'll continue to do that, as they, get ready to open up this amazing, theme park. And with that, I unfortunately have to go, everyone. But thank you for letting me join the show today. And I wanted to let you guys know that you can follow me at BarryPlace28 on, you can follow me on YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. And also, you can follow me at Park Streamers. We had an amazing show last night. We're doing this chalk walk thing, which you guys have heard about, Children's Hospital of Orange County, and we hit a new milestone, and we have actually reached for our team. I believe it is now. Oh, where did our team go? Sorry, 1 second. I was just bringing it up. $15,344 we've raised, and we still have 3 months left. I just want to say everyone who's. Yeah, it's amazing. So everyone who's been following me from this channel, I just want to say thank you so much. You guys have been so nice and so generous in helping us, raise money for this, great organization. And also, I know we didn't get to talk about it. Vash has some pictures. Maybe you can show it later. But there we go. Never mind. I had the opportunity to go to Knott's Berry Farm this past weekend. And standing next to me in the background is Theme Park Casual, who we always see in the chat, but they were doing a book signing for the Knott's Berry Tales book. If you haven't seen it, you can find it on the Fantasy Fun Wheel. It's also available at Knott's Berry Farm if you live close to the park. But we had the opportunity to see Eddie Soto, who's on the far left there, Chris Crump, who's right next to Chris Merritt, who's holding his hands out, Jim Dow with a hat. He actually created the Roaring 20 signs for Knott's Berry Farm, and then Eric Linsweiler, who did the Knott's Berry Tales book with Chris Merritt. again, who has his hands out. So it was a great opportunity to meet everyone. I actually got Jim Dow, Chris Crump, and Eddie Soto's information, and we are working to have them on the show. Chris Merritt does have a book about Mark Davis that he's stamping right there with a WED stamp, and Eddie Soto joked about, hey, we'll stamp one back here. So this is the video you're seeing, and that's the stamp right there. So it was a really great experience. It was really, really cool. I have a signed copy of the Knott's Berry Tales book with everyone's signature that I will be raffling off soon. So definitely come follow me. And every couple of weeks we do a Chalk Walk raffle to try to raise money for this great organization. But I want to say thank you for everyone who's been, hanging out with me. And I hope you guys are enjoying a little Disney history while, spending some time in the theme parks with me. So thank you.
Oh, that is
spectacular.
Fantastic. I love all that.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Thank you so much, Bob.
I do want to say one thing real quick before I go to Eddie Soto is so cool. And he was talking about how he really likes, telling his own opinion. So we got to talk to him about the Rivers of America at Disneyland and his iPad sketch. And he said, look, Disney really, irked me when they said, hey, we need to get rid of Rivers of America. He goes, you don't have to. He goes, it spurred me to get on my iPad and to draw something out to show that you can still keep Rivers of America without getting, rid of that water or river. And you can still do Cars Land and Villains and everything with keeping Rivers of America. So I thought that was really neat. He goes, I can't stand shields. I don't like that. He goes, I just like it when people are upfront and honest. And I want to let people know that, hey, Disney can do this. They're just choosing not to do it. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Eddie's awesome.
Well said.
He's so good. I love Eddie Soto to death. I've been a huge fan of his work even before he became a household name in some theme park circles nowadays. I mean, I've just been obsessed with his work in Disneyland Paris, but also too with the little stuff that he did with Disneyland over the years after the Disneyland Paris project.
And the Soapbox Racers over at Knott's Berry Farm.
And Soapbox Racers at Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, thank you, Bob. Very much appreciate that. I think we have your links. Yep.
And
go ahead.
I also have to go because my lunch break is over. So thank you for having me on, everybody. Make sure to follow me on Theme Park Wizard everywhere, including YouTube.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and get your information up as well, Wizard. But thank you, Bob and Wizard, for joining us in the chat right now. You can go ahead. Theme Park Wizard at his channel over there on YouTube as well. Definitely check him out. And thank you so much, guys, for joining as much as you guys have. I know it's a big time commitment, but thank you. You are what make this channel possible, really. And to have people so connected to the theme park community is awesome. So thank you so much. Go Joey. Let's get ahead. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, go Chogi. He got it. He got Wizard's link in there in the chat. Definitely subscribe to our friends here.
You mean they are the crown? They make the world go round and round?
That's right.
That's, yeah. Kind of. Oh, all right. There you go. That's Wizard. And thank you so much, Bob. We'll see you later.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for letting me hang out.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. And I've got to get back over to the studio. In order to do that, well, I need to switch it up here. Nolan, could you do me a favor and please honor this man's super chat? Is this live for Canadian $10? Go ahead.
Absolutely. All right. Is this live for Canadian $10? They could replace the rocket coaster with a Back to the Future one instead of the rumored F one. Oh, Fast and the Furious one. Give it an 88 miles per hour launch, and you have a big winner. Hi, Lou. Long time no see.
Likewise. But retrofitting an 88 mile an hour launch, it's not as simple as you make it sound. Now there's two.
There's two, and now there's just one. There you go.
There can be only one, with all due respect to Lauren and his opinions of Highlander. Oh
man! Oh boy! Eventually, we're gonna get to Highlander 2 on one of these channels. I swear.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
I was looking at the Lost Guys recent upload on T3PO on this channel. If y'all want to check it out on Superman Lives, and the first comment I see was Dr. John saying, "Hey, you guys need to do Highlander 2," and I'm like, "Oh boy."
It's a
Well,
thing
aside
now.
from Lorne's not loving him, my point, which the other two genre guys joined me in, is we don't do twos until we've at least done ones, for goodness sakes. It's like kind of eating backwards if you do it that way. I mean,
So
I know
it's like eating the crust
life is
first.
uncertain and eat dessert first and all that stuff, but still. Anyway, one is a great movie. Two is two. But
Is this live? Thank you so much for your super chat right
Yes,
here.
yes.
I'll say. I mean, I would love to get to a what is it, Back to the Future coaster or something Back to the Future related in lieu of Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious, larger franchise for them right now. We'll see. But that coaster in Hollywood looks epic.
And as far as we can tell, the Back to the Future coaster is going to happen in the UK, right?
Yes, that's true. Maybe some duplication. We'll see. The Mom with $4.99. Not to be funny, you have to think of all the people that got fired during cast members preview, so they have to rehire and train them. Hello, everyone. Yeah,
I don't know how many. It was some notable cases, but it wasn't like it was hundreds or thousands of people. So, or was there?
I heard it was
I heard
like
about 600.
I heard about 750.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was serious. Yeah.
Ooh.
It was
Ooh.
all over X. Yeah.
Well,
But they did rehire some of them back, but not everybody. I
Well,
guess.
listen,
that were like,
I'm all for firing them, because if you can't follow the rules with this, what else are you not giving a darn about?
It's a $7.7 billion investment.
I will say though, I mean, I'm sure filling the positions isn't that hard. There are people that love to work. If they want to stay in Florida and they like theme parks, then work in a theme park and get your discount,
But if
It
your
does have
object of taking a job is to get a discount and not to get a job, are you a good worker? I don't know.
Oh, my sister told me there were a lot of Disney employees, including the upper echelon, that she admitted it's hard to leave because of the perks. She says that there's just so many privileges that we don't even begin to understand that just makes it worthwhile. It was really difficult when my other family member got let go.
Well,
it was
I
a real
will,
blow.
I will suggest, in my curmudgeonly way, that the fault with our society is not that we don't have enough people willing to work in theme parks for perks. The fault is we don't have enough grown-ups. The fault is in parenting lapses and people having a sense of work ethic and responsibility to their employer, and also assuming, oh, just because I work for you doesn't mean you can dictate every little facet of my life or any of them. Surprise. Yes, we can. Surprise.
What some people don't know is that some of the apartment complexes, especially over by UCF, you get a discount on rent if you are a cast member. And they lived out that way for the longest time because they got a double discount. They were students at UCF while also working for Disney. So it discounted their rent significantly to be able to afford to live and go to school. So that they were working and schooling. And I don't know how they did it for so many years.
It makes me wonder, were those apartments as well maintained and as well managed as those where you don't get a discount? So there's the yin and yang of the thing.
Yeah. I mean, they seemed nice. I mean,
well, good.
She never complained.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
And if I was living there and not getting that discount and getting the same services, I would say, how come you're charging me so much? Why don't you just lower the rates all the way around? Yeah. So everybody has a reason, Anyway.
It's definitely a nuanced issue. There's no question about it. Sephiroth with the £5 It looks like Disney will lose, and it is sad to see. My friend's daughter loves Pinocchio, the original. She said it on VHS and couldn't believe what she said about the new cut. Oh, I see. So she may have seen it on VHS back in the day. I mean, that was I think that was the first direct video release of any of their animated classics back in the day. That was a big deal. There were articles about it and everything else because remember they had been releasing those films every 7 years in theaters, and now you can actually buy them at your leisure. Yeah, the new what is it? Live action and maybe the new cuts associated with physical media. No good. Go ahead, Lou.
Well, you never know what a little kid is going to glam onto as their favorite thing. And the great example of that is our recent genre guys exploit of Big Trouble in Little China.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw, but we got a comment from somebody who said, my 5-year-old little girl loves that movie. And when I ask her, what movie should she watch? Her response is, quote, can we watch Jack Burton? I love Jack Burton. It's like, why would a 5-year-old little girl suddenly glam onto that particular? But they do, and more power to them, But the fact that she knew it by the character name that way, and that's what she called the movie, was the Jack Burton movie. So, which is the character, of course, that Kurt Russell portrays in the film. But so, I think it's great. Everybody's got their thing,
Everybody's got their thing. I have mine. That's a little bit of Adventureland and Frontierland. At Disneyland, well, apparently those won't be living for very long in Tokyo. What am I talking about, folks? Well, I'm talking about the 10-year plan that the Oriental Land Company, the parent company of Tokyo Disney Resort, if I'm not mistaken, actually announced for Tokyo Disneyland itself, and a little bit of Tokyo Disney Seas, but we'll get into that very, very soon. The Oriental Land Company shared early concept art of possible expansions at Tokyo Disney Resort over the next decade. This is by Scott Gustin here. The first image shows massive changes to Adventureland and Westernland at Tokyo Disneyland, and the second shows updates to Port Discovery at Tokyo Disney Sea. Now, I actually have the entire presentation here that they shared to investors, but I believe we have a big breakdown here on Walt Disney World News Today of what they actually might be doing. Tokyo Disney teases removal of Jungle Cruise, Tiki Room, Treehouse, and the Railroad for new Adventureland, possibly featuring Pixar's Up and The Incredibles. It's by Tom Corliss here on April 28th, 2025. It's a little older. I get it. But very, very important here because whatever happens in the international parks, well, wait long enough and it might be happening here as well. In a shocking announcement, Tokyo Disney Resort has revealed that they have been considering major land overhauls to carry their theme parks through 2035, including a reimagining of Adventureland at Tokyo Disneyland. According to the early concept art just released, they may permanently erase the world-famous Jungle Cruise, Enchanted Tiki Room, Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, or Swiss Family Treehouse, and more. Whew, this is big here. Apparently, Walt Disney World is not the only one thinking about getting rid of some of their long, iconic. I know Lou hates that word, but their long, famous lands.
It applies in this case.
It does. Rivers of America out there at Magic Kingdom. Now we're talking about getting rid of the railroad and much more. Your thoughts on all of this, guys?
First of all, we know that Oriental Land is having trouble financially. Second of all, this may be their way of saying we will rise to the occasion, and also interesting investors. But third and most important, when they call it a 10-year plan, that means a plan of phased changes, not they're going to take 10 years starting today, tearing things down to do it, because they don't do that. Look at how fast their new Space Mountain is going up. As a good example, very good example. They're building a completely new Space Mountain, and it's the exterior is going to be finished before they finish tearing down the old one, I think, or pretty close to the same time. So they spend the money to get it done and get it done now, and not leave themselves with less capacity for it as long as is humanly possible, the way that Disney does. But actually, the net result of this, as far as the big picture, is income to Disney to do these changes, which they certainly need. So
they definitely need. And here's the thing: if Disneyland Resort is landlocked, Tokyo is really, really landlocked. I mean,
well, waterlocked.
Very, very tight up there. Yeah, it's tough out there in Tokyo. So it's like, okay, well, really the only way that they can actually get new attractions and new experiences is if they, pave over old ones or existing ones. Now, I know they're trying to get enough land to do a third theme park. I think it's called Tokyo Disney Sky or Air, if I'm not mistaken. But that's kind of down the line here. And so what do you do in the interim? Well, if you have existing experiences that aren't necessarily as compelling as they were back in the day, do you remove them? Maybe the argument in this case is yes. Nolan, are you one for tradition? Do you get rid of something like Adventureland or Westernland out there in Tokyo for new additions that might incorporate new IP? Or you keep those around? Your thoughts?
Why must we break when we can create? Why? But no, you make a very solid argument there where if they're so locked by land, I mean, for crying out loud, I was just in the California theme parks and I get it over there. They do not have space to work with. And I can only imagine what they're having to deal with in Tokyo right now. I feel like I could get a better perspective on this if I could actually, head out to Tokyo to see, what's the vibe, what's the popularity, what kind of limitations are they working with. I can't say I'm an expert on, the amount of room they have. The best advice I can give is actually pretty simple. It's just try to do the best you can, preserve your history, but sometimes you do have to sacrifice a tradition in order to bring in some valid income. And if all these speculation about their income is correct, then I'm sorry, The Incredibles is going to be a much bigger moneymaker than, say, the Jungle Cruise or the Enchanted Tiki Room. And the reality is, those do not have the legacy that the Disney World or land variants will have for those kind of attractions. Do I want to see them gone? Definitely not. Do I think they should bring that same logic with, say, a Splash Mountain? No, because that's a one park attraction. That's the only place you can experience this. Tiki Room, as much as I live and die by that attraction, it's in 2 other parks. And if we have to do it for the sake of preserving this theme park, I think there is a fair excuse to get rid of it, but I do not want to see it.
One other thing about Tiki Room, which is one of my favorite things of all time and always will be, it's very language intensive. And a lot of the stuff that's at Tokyo knows it has to deal with English and Japanese and all the tourists from everywhere else. And so something that's more visual, less language, like, for example, those things they put in Fantasy Springs, which are mostly beautiful first and storytelling almost second. It makes sense there in a way that it doesn't necessarily here.
That's a fair point right there, especially for experiences out in Europe. That's a major concern, but Tokyo, I can definitely see that for sure. And if I'm not mistaken, they replaced theirs with, I think, like Stitch or something like that. So it's not even the original incarnation of the Enchanted Tiki Room that can be experienced in the States. Erika, I want to go to you. How do you feel about these attractions being maybe replaced in a place like Tokyo? And do you have any distinct connection with them? Do you think that these franchises listed on this screen right here, at least from one person's prediction, are a better draw for this resort? Do you think they should stay around? Your thoughts? I'm going to unmute you now.
I think with Tokyo Disney, there's more grace extended because Walt did not have his hands in this park and this at all. I get that there's conceptually and maybe spiritually he's kind of there, but it's different with Disneyland and Disney World where his literal handprints and footprints, are on those projects. With Tokyo Disney, you don't have that, so it doesn't really bother me in the same way. And then also you're dealing with the Asian culture. And one thing I've noticed, having lived in Japan, there are certain IPs out there that are more popular than what we have in the States. So if they're trying to cater to more of the Asian market, they're on that side of the world. It makes sense to pick IPs that resonate with, the Asian market. And when we're traveling over there, we're traveling to their country. We're traveling to, in a sense, their version of Disney. And it is Disney, it's licensed. And it's nice to get a different version of Disney in a foreign country. I mean, it's not intended to be identical, you know. I think it'll work. It looks fun. I mean, the concept art, it looks like a great land. I don't have any issues with it. I hope we get to go back and visit. We didn't get to go to Tokyo Disney when we were stationed in Okinawa. We were just too young and too broke.
You're talking about how this land looks fun, Erica. Something I like about this here is, you got these great sounding attractions. You got the Incredibles, you got Moana, Encanto, Up. It makes a lot more sense, than replacing, say, the Muppet attraction with Monsters Inc., which is 20-something years old now. All this stuff seems, outside of maybe Up, a lot of these franchises have had new installments over the past several years. This is no dog on, say, Monsters Inc., but I like how it seems like they're utilizing what is popular in the now as opposed to 20 years ago.
Well, but to me, the issue with replacing the Muppets is not what they replace it with. You could have Monsters Inc., just don't tear out something good and important to do it. So,
Good point.
But one thing what Nolan maybe didn't even realize what he just said is they're bringing all these different IPs to this land, and somehow they're making it work. The land flows.
Yes.
It looks good. There's continuity. Even though it's Moana, Encanto, Up, and The Incredibles, which every IP is distinctly different from the other. But somehow they have thematically figured out how to make it work and flow with cohesiveness. And, if we could get this at Disney World, I think there'd be less complaining.
The difference is
this looks beautiful.
The difference is that when they go to Imagineering and say, hey, this is for Japan, Imagineering is told, don't worry about what it costs. They'll pay for it. Just make it the best you can make it. As opposed to at the domestic park saying, just make it cheap.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a good point. It's a good point. Whatever Tokyo is going to do, I really do hope is built with the same level of quality that we saw with Fantasy Springs or even products even before then.
The customer will insist on it. And that's the difference. So. That's the difference. The customer will insist on it and is willing to pay for it. I
didn't realize they were struggling. I honestly thought they were doing well because
the whole Japanese stock market's having some issues. So,
okay. I wasn't all right.
They took on a big debt load in order to facilitate the construction of Fantasy Springs, and it just hasn't paid off in the way that they thought it was going to. And then combined with the Japanese economy, they are not doing all that well. But go ahead, Erica, please.
Oh, no, I didn't realize all that was going on over there. I just keep hearing how great Tokyo is. And if you want to go visit Disney that feels like old Disney, go to Tokyo Disney. And when you hear all that, you don't, and I don't keep up with like economics like that.
Well, and even with their economic problems, it's cheaper to go there, including the flight, than it is to go to,
Well, I thought this was very interesting. Their strategy to achieve attendance growth is to expand the fan base and domestic guests and to expand to overseas markets like South Korea, North America, and China, the markets with high potential like Southeast Asia. So this is very interesting. They are putting an enhanced emphasis on international travel in order to supplement their revenue streams and income that they already have, because I think they understand that the domestic market, while very lucrative and something that they focused on for years, well, it's ebbing and flowing right now. They have to supplement that for somehow, and so the emphasis on international travel is where they're going. I think that's great for them, because as Marty pointed out, he was astonished by how value oriented it had become to actually get out there and actually spend multiple days at Tokyo Disney Resort. I know that the park entry for something like Tokyo Disneyland is much cheaper than it is for Disneyland in California, and a bit cheaper than it is for like Magic Kingdom, let's say, at Walt Disney World. So it's like, hey, maybe this can actually work out here. It would be cool to have it become a vacation destination that everybody around the world would see, because, to be honest, they deserve it. They have really, really amazing attractions. Go ahead, Nolan.
That's on my bucket list.
You go about that all of us at once. Okay.
Disney Sea is on my bucket list and then some. I just regret the effort of making the trip. So
I think one of the best ways you can get an international draw too is, honestly, as much as I hate to say that, fading out the Enchanted Tiki Room and, you know, the Jungle Cruise and all that, because like right now, I think that's honestly bringing a lot of people to Tokyo, and myself included. I'm hoping that next year we can make this trip happening, is to be able to go experience a living, breathing, well, hoping not breathing, Splash Mountain. And if they're going to introduce new perks like, you know, exclusive upride, Encanto, Incredibles, it's going to give more reason to go to these destinations. I never really understand with some of these theme parks where they're like, yeah, we're going to have Galaxy's Edge in California and we're going to have it in Florida. Whereas if you're a person like me who likes to travel to different theme parks, it's like when I got to finally experience Disney's California Adventure for the first time, it's like, whoa, this is exclusive. There's like a whole Incredicoaster over here, and it's new, it's different. I think Tokyo could really benefit off that international travel, much like Disney World does itself, when there's a lot of different travelers from all around the world just coming just to be at that park. I think there's potential here.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I think that's why they're picking. I think that's why they're being selective on the IPs. Like again, they're trying to cater to that Asian market, and that's all of Asia. That international draw. I mean, us here in the States, I like that they have an actual Moana attraction. It's not some walk through splash pad.
What I particularly like is, you know, the official name for the World War II expansion of Japan was the Asian Co-Prosperity Sphere, when they wanted to take over all of everything from Malaysia on up. Well, they're doing it economically instead of militarily, and more power to them. When they talk about getting an audience from China, however, they really mean Formosa. They really mean Taiwan. They don't. China can't support its own parks because their economy is so bad.
Yeah.
And there are some people who are analyze such things, who basically say that they are demographically going to go defunct as an ethnicity, Han Chinese, because of the way things are going there over the next 10 to 20 years. So, you know, they'll pick up the pieces, but meanwhile, they'd love to have all those people in Vietnam and Taiwan and you know, everybody in the Southeast Asian areas come visit. For that matter, a lot of people from Australia go to Tokyo.
Yes. Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess that would be the place to go, because Australia doesn't have a Disney park, and the closest thing to a Disney experience that you can actually get to is probably Tokyo. So it makes a lot of sense. Also, too, it's a story that we haven't covered a lot on our various channels, because there's just so much to get to. But it's one that I'm tracking. Hong Kong's attendance is really, really low right now.
Yes, it is.
Startlingly low. So maybe that will be reflected in the earnings call tomorrow. I'm not sure, but if it is, you bet your bottom dollar we're going to be talking about it, because the pictures that I have that I've seen coming out of there are very, very surprising. Erika, we have one last thing to get to, but I wanted to get to you because I know you maybe have a thought. What were you going to say there?
Oh, sorry, I tuned you out first.
Oh, you're good. I just thought no. I thought you were wanting to comment on something, especially when it comes to international travel. I didn't want to go ahead and have you forget that point, but perhaps maybe I was mistaken.
I know you're good.
Well, the other thing that they actually showcased here as part of this Tokyo Disneyland 10-year plan that they have was also some updates coming to Tokyo Disney Sea. not anywhere near on the extent that they may have showed or revealed for Tokyo Disneyland. But some changes to Aquatopia and some other smaller things here at this corner of the park, which, hasn't gotten significant usage, especially, with major attractions like Fantasy Springs coming online. So that's, I think, very, very interesting as well. We'll have to keep you updated on all of this. I know we've been tracking the fact that they are developing a cruise line. I'm very interested to see what that's all going to be like. I know they want to expand their hotel business, which has been very lucrative for them in the past. And there's just tons of stuff on the horizon here, and we'll have to keep track of that and more as things shake out here. But speaking of shaking things out, maybe Walt Disney himself might be shaking very, very quickly here at a Disney theme park near you.
I hope it's not shaking.
Yeah, I hope it's not shaking either. But
shaking like Louis, shaking like Tiana. But
yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
He's got the shakes and the stutters right there. Maybe that being Walt Disney
because in Walt's case that
Disneyland.
would be the PTs. But anyway,
yes. So Disney hosted a bunch of influencers, media outlets, and so forth at Walt Disney Imagineering in Glendale, it looks like. And they had some media out there. This is Mice Chat here. And they had an update to provide for this Walt Disney Animatronic starring show here in the Opera House at Disneyland. We haven't heard anything about this ever since they moved the date back to July 17th. Now we do. There you go. This by Dusty Sage over there on Mice Chat. Disneyland brings Walt Disney back to life in bold new show. Sorry about that. My screens went crazy. Disneyland brings Walt Disney back to life in bold new show. Big changes are coming to the Main Street Opera House in Town Square. And not just a new coat of paint in honor of Disneyland's 70th anniversary. This July, nearly every aspect of the experience is being reimagined. From the exhibits in the lobby to the show in the theater, the Opera House is about to look and feel very different. And at the heart of it all is Walt Disney himself. A brand new show titled Walt Disney A Magical Life will reintroduce guests to the man behind the mouse. For the first time, Walt will appear in audio animatronic form, speaking in his own words and brought to life through an unprecedented mix of archival audio, advanced robotics, and theatrical staging. We were invited behind the scenes at Walt Disney Imagineering to speak with designers, view a life-size sculpt of the figure, and ask pointed questions about the creative and ethical choices behind the show. And while the technical achievement is impressive...
Ethical choices? Oh, my God. That's scary. Go on.
well, yes. I mean, Mice Chat, they understand their theme park history. They sure do. And they understand that Walt himself never wanted to be featured in animatronic form, and some of his grandchildren have been very critical of this change. And while the technical achievement is impressive... The project isn't without its risks. Animatronic Walt represents both a bold leap forward and a potential stumble into the uncanny valley. Disneyland fans are famously opinionated, and with this project, Disney is aiming straight at the heart of its own legacy. Will it inspire awe or awkwardness? And that remains to be seen. But one thing's certain, the company is betting big on Walt's story still having the power to connect with park guests. Initially, based off that, any reactions before we move ahead with this article?
That picture just now, those two guys, if those are it, they don't look a thing like him. They really did a bad job of the animatronics. So, anyway.
Well, that's Tom Fitzgerald right there, Senior Creative Executive, Walt Disney Imagineering, and then Jeff Shaver Moskowitz, if I'm not mistaken, Executive Producer, Walt Disney Imagineering, posed beside storyboards at Walt Disney Imagineering itself. So there you go. Those are the two gentlemen working on that. Tom Fitzgerald, we've actually talked about before on That Park Place, related to the changes at the Haunted Mansion over there at Disneyland, and how he had changed the story regarding the bride.
Are they going to have a Hatbox Walt?
Yeah, they might be. His frozen head is there in the Hatbox.
Exactly.
There you go. The rumors were true. No, it's probably not. But Tom Fitzgerald then worked on Design Paris, and some people say ruined that attraction. Then Kim Irvine came in and put the Haunted Mansion again, and redid the Bride again, and it's been a whole thing. At the heart of this new offering is something Imagineers have never attempted before, bringing Walt Disney himself back to life via audio animatronics. Standing casually in his Burbank office, leaning on his desk and with his trademark twinkle and a stack of scripts nearby, the figure will speak in Walt's actual voice, painstakingly assembled from real interviews spanning decades. This is not the overly formal Walt of press conferences or studio portraits. Instead, Imagineers have channeled the warm conversational Walt many remember from his TV intros. Quote, "We said, how can we create to be like you've just dropped in," said executive creative director Tom Fitzgerald. "He's welcoming you. He's laying on a desk. It's a casual, not formal moment." The decision to create a lifelike representation of Walt was not taken lightly. Imagineers worked closely with the Walt Disney Family Museum, Disney Archives, and members of the Disney and Miller families throughout the development process. While some concerns have been raised by Walt's granddaughter, Joanna Miller, who expressed discomfort with the concept of an animatronic Walt Disney, Imagineers note that many members of the family, as well as the Family Museum board, were involved and gave their support. The result is meant to be intimate, not imposing. So that's interesting. You remember that we actually ran articles on That Park Place talking about Joanna Miller and her criticism of this move that she expressed on her Facebook page. And it looks like they addressed those concerns and said, well, we've got other family members. We've got the Walt Disney Family Museum board and everybody else that says it's A-okay. Your take on that aspect of it?
I don't know. I don't think I would have talked about the grooming products he used if I were them, but that's just me.
It's a fair point.
It's like is this going to be like the burning Rome and the orange blossoms at Epcot? Are they going to spray his cologne into the room when he's standing there? I don't know.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Everything we did was to create that lifelike feeling, but in a theatrical presentation, said executive producer Jeff Shaver Moskowitz. We didn't just order an animatronic. We built a Walt animatronic to deliver a performance, end quote. We had the opportunity to view the life-size concept sculpt used to develop the figure, and the resemblance is, to put it mildly, uncanny. The skin, texture, posture, and facial structure are all startlingly accurate. But I'm sorry. This is startlingly.
You know what? They're amazing. They're just amazing.
This is no caricature. Every hair is punched individually, explained Fitzgerald. We looked at what kind of shoes he wore, the rings on his fingers, the grooming products he used, and it all mattered. Imagineers even added special touches to clothing recreated from Walt's personal wardrobe, including the stylized Smoke Tree Ranch logo from his Palm Springs area vacation.
Walt wore coats with Steamboat Willie silk linings, did he?
I don't know if he did that. We know that Bob Iger himself doesn't wear Mickey ties, so I'm not quite sure if he wore.
Speaking of Bob Iger, he does realize that he's part of the Walt Disney Company, you know, all the IP with that. He doesn't own Walt Disney, the human. This is disgusting. He should have you can detail all the spots that you did to create this thing. If you're say a weapon of mass destruction that impacted a lot of people, you can give all the detail and the hard work you did on it, but that doesn't mean what you did was right. This is morally wrong. There are not laws currently in place to stop this sort of thing. And I'm sorry, Bob Iger should not control the actions of the human that was Walt Disney. He was more than just a man on TV. He was not even a fictional character. There was a moral gray point that happened when Rogue One came out nearly a decade ago, and we had Grand Moff Tarkin, deep fake CGI'd into being that original character with the original actor. That was a fictional character that he signed up to play. Walt Disney, you might be able to go some gray area with the Uncle Walt sort of thing, but at the end of the day, that was supposed to be Walt Disney. He has no responsibility in doing that, and honestly, it's debatable if even his family should have say on that. This is disgusting, and they're just making excuses and doing something that is morally questionable. And if it's this amount of questionable, they probably shouldn't even do it, because honestly, this isn't like a 400-year-old thing that no one ever got a chance to experience and is so far removed, you're getting a time capsule for the sake of history. This is Bob has shown that he does not care about the history of the Walt Disney Company. This is for the sake of capitalizing for the sake of mucho dinero. I am incredibly opposed to this. That was my rant and my soapbox. Please continue.
Let me add some context to what you said, and I agree with you, by and large. First of all, we all know the story that supposedly way back at the beginning of Imagineering, Roy came to his brother and said, I'm not sure you can call it Walt Disney or Disneyland because you don't really even own your name anymore. The company does.
Yeah.
So there's that. Okay. Secondly, what the Iger ethos is, if I can use those two words in the same sentence, is not just cashing in. It's replacing the Walt that was with one of his own making. If this runs, and remember, they first were going to totally take Lincoln out, and then they said that after this is run for the anniversary year by itself, they're going to alternate the shows. We'll see. They're going to have more people see this, especially as they eliminate the old video, than saw the real guy. They're going to supplant the image with one made in their own vision of him to go along with their own priorities. And that's ultimately the subversive nature of this. So
I will say, I'll say this, that's definitely a big risk here by doing this, because we already saw with like the AI Walt, let's say, for the introduction of the touring road show celebrating the company's 100th anniversary, that gets into some gray areas for sure. I'll say this, I understand where you're coming, Nolan, when it comes to animatronic likenesses and so forth. I will say that while this might be uncomfortable, there is also like Walt himself recreating Abraham Lincoln, for example.
True.
And
very true.
That's a good counter. There's some interesting ethics and maybe morality connected to that. And so it's like, okay, well, if you can do that, can you do this? Especially if you own the likeness and so forth. It's a really particular issue that's not maybe fully addressed. And then you have to think about like Lincoln being involved in like movies and so forth, and historical dramas and all of that.
And the Lincoln Memorial and everything else. Well, here's another question. I'm sure this thing really, really does look like him. I'm happy that they'll take that effort. But if they put as much effort into the thing of Donald Trump in the Hall of Presidents, wouldn't that have been respectful? But they didn't. They just put a suit on a Hillary clone and played with the hair.
80s man had a very good point in the chat, and he agreed with me for the most part, but you could also take one of mine, if not my favorite attraction in Walt Disney World is actually the Hall of Presidents. And that has to take a lot of historical things of taking a real person's likeness and putting it in front of a presentation for people to see. I guess a major thing that was different about that is, there were a lot of people behind the scenes were trying to do the best they could to have historical accuracy of what was being presented, and came from a place of love for America as a country. And even when it was retroactively fitted every year, even if Bob might have been biting his tongue over some of the results of certain types of like elections and all that, it still at the end of the day, was being recorded by those real individuals, and they had to, have their approval on what was being presented there. I guess it's one of those where the unfortunate reality is it sucks seeing a real person in the hands of someone who morally disagrees with a lot of their philosophies. And I just hope that wherever this is going, whether there's going to be certain kinds of laws implemented with the whole, AI deepfake situation, the animatronic situations, how much technology can progress wherever we're going. Let's just hope the people responsible are going to be those who are going to take good care on the historical importance of what's coming, because you can't stop people from parodying the work. You're going to see George Washington appear on a used car ad. That's just the reality of how it works. And in America, in my opinion, you should have the freedom to do so. But let's hope for something that's supposed to be so historical significance to where we're going to show our little ones, this is who this person was. I really hope we can trust these people to do Walt justice, because I'm not buying it.
I echo those sentiments right there, Erika. Your thoughts on this?
No, I don't think they should. This is something that if you're going to do something like this, it needs to wait until almost the entire family tree has passed on. You're talking grandchildren that are still alive that I'm assuming, I don't know very well in terms of Walt's personal family history, if he got to meet his grandchildren. But I don't know, they do need to be very careful. That said, on a humorous note, could be worse. We could be getting an Iger animatronic.
Oh no, not the animatronic! Dang you, Bob! Oh boy, that could be a lot worse right there.
Wait! They'll put him in the bathtub and shower scene in Carousel of Progress.
Carousel of Progress.
There's no privacy around here. Oh boy, that's Lou. That is absolutely perfect right there.
No, wait.
Yes, folks, we only have high-class stuff on this show.
Go ahead, Eric.
We'll change the script. It'll have to say, I need one more shower.
One more shower.
Not enough hot water around here.
Oh, it's great right there. There's no doubt the final figure will feel real, but is Robot Walt a bridge too far? That's the question Imagineering will have to navigate carefully. The animatronic appears for just a couple of minutes at the end of a longer story-driven presentation. Ideally, the moment will land as touching and inspiring rather than unsettling. We strongly hope that Disney conducts guest testing with both fans and critics before the show officially opens. Walt Disney wasn't just any historical figure. He's the man the company is named after. They're going to bring him back to life. This is one case where it has to be perfect. Quote, "It's a project the Walt Disney Company didn't have to do," said Jeff Curdy, presidential fellow, Walt Disney Studies at Chapman University. Quote, "It's not driving attendance or profit, but I feel there is a sincerity in it, and celebrating the identity and ideals of the founder of the company for those who remember him fondly, and more importantly, for new generations." Whew, that's
important
really something
to
here.
remember this little fact. When Walt passed and the company was building Walt Disney World, it wasn't Walt Disney World, it was Disney World. And Roy, his brother, insisted that they get his first name into the name of the place.
Yes. Yeah, it was originally going to be called, like you said, Disney World. And Roy said, when he made his triumphant return, by the way, because he kind of sequestered himself away from the company for a little while there, because remember, he would walk out the door just, I think it was like days before Walt Disney ended up passing away. Walt's like, "Hey, we got this. Go ahead and enjoy your retirement." Sure enough, he has to come back, and he's like, "Okay, we're going forward with everything about my brother did." And that includes the Florida project, which we were going to call Disney World, but no. This time we're calling it Walt Disney World. That's why I always emphasize that whenever I talk about it. But new show will debut inside Disneyland's Main Street Opera House, longtime home to great moments with Mr. Lincoln. But don't worry, Lincoln's not going anywhere. A newly installed rotating turntable will allow both shows to coexist and run in regular rotation, though we expect Disney Magical Life will initially take center stage while the demand is high. Go ahead.
You got to wonder what the finale is going to be, because there's no way they can begin to match the stolen from Epcot's show big finale of the Lincoln show. I mean, are you still going to have the flag appear behind him in the clouds? Because that was him. He did that in his movie. So, boy,
I don't think it's going to have a triumphant ending like that did. I think it's it could be more personal and intimate. It looks like the way they're going right here.
He's going to say, "Okay, folks, I got work to do. Go buy a Coke and a popcorn bucket. I'll see you later. Bye." And you just leave? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'll be fascinated to see how they handle that issue.
I'm encouraged to see that the team is at least taking it as seriously as they are. Looks like they've consulted with a number of people. Tom Fitzgerald being on there doesn't have me exactly thrilled, but they have to get this right. They have to get this perfect, or else people, this channel included, actually, will mock them relentlessly if they don't get this right. This cannot be another Tiana thing.
No,
this has to be perfect. Go ahead, Nolan.
And the reality is, too, I encourage everyone, in our audience and every Disney fan alike, a historian, whatever, if you see things wrong with this, call them out, let your opinion be heard, because the reality is, in modern age, people know documentaries and in the movie sphere are not 100% accurate to what actually happened. It's at the end of the day, it's still a documentary. It can be very close, but it doesn't always get all the detail and all the timing right, especially when you have movies based off. I remember when Bohemian Rhapsody came out a few years, the movie based off Queen, there were still little things they tweaked for the sake of having a narrative. It is our responsibility as the audience to let them know, hey, this part wasn't truly accurate to history, or this was a gray area, and it could be seen as either way.
What your opinion is.
And that's the thing. Here's the thing, though. It is the responsibility of the park goer to let it be known, because Disney will never admit fault, and they want to write their own history. And it's literally the responsibility of all of us to be like, hey, if this is wrong, call it out. Maybe we're lucky one day they'll change and update it. But it is up to us to preserve the history, because as we see here, they do not have enough information on his philosophy to get this truly right, but they're going through with it anyways. And as Vash said earlier in this article, it's not even something they say they're going after for the sake of money or big profits. So why even do this to begin with?
Well, at least I'm encouraged as far as accuracy, if you want to be a real stickler, that they say they're taking the speech chunks that they're putting together, just like they did with Lincoln with Royal Dano's interpretation, from his interviews and not from his openings to the show. Because, of course, all of his formal stuff, his speeches, his opening, Marty Sklar wrote all of that for him.
Yeah.
So those were not, quote unquote, his words. He told them, what I want to say is this. And then, a professional stepped in and made it work. So, well, we'll see. We'll see. I give them the benefit of the doubt till I see it. But the way things have been going there, I got to tell you the truth. Every time this picture's on the screen, I'm looking at that photo of the park and wondering if I'm going to see something that is newer than him. They picked the wrong one, because that's the kind of dumb stuff they do these days. And we have to say their track record as far as making it look like the real man ain't so good when you consider that statue at Epcot and some of the other things they've done. So we'll see. We'll see.
I am so curious about this. We had Bob on earlier, who gave us a little bit of information I'd like to share and close out the story and then close out the show and get you on over to Mr. H. He was saying that his source was like they're working feverishly to try to get this done on time. Well, there was actually a point in which we thought they might delay it even further, but it looks like it's all coming together. It has to be perfect. It has to be right. They can't mess this up. This you can't mess up.
And they cannot say to the audience that finds it imperfect, "Oh, we're still working on it. It'll be okay."
No. Hey, there's no preview period here.
You got to get it right the first time. And they will, I guess. But
you only have one chance to make a first impression, though.
Exactly.
It has to be perfect on day one. So if they delay it, hey, I'm all for it, because at least they're attempting to get it perfect. If they don't and choose to rush this and get this on this day, hell will pay.
Meanwhile, I bet we have super chats.
I think we do, and also too, one man stream. Updated version of that will be playing in front of it. Let's see. Destiny Captain with the 199. Lou, did you know?
Not only did I know him, he was about a 4-house down neighbor of mine for a long time before I knew him and didn't know he was there. One day I'm strolling in the neighborhood and, oh my God, look who's there. So yes, is the answer to that question.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that. Usually it's like, yeah, maybe,
No.
I worked with him before, but not extensively. I didn't know that you were neighbors. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. There you go. There's Harp Bennett right there for you on the screen. Well, that just about concludes our show right here. And, well, starting off with Lou. Lou, I think you got a show on Sundays that you do. Usually it's with me, but sometimes it's with others.
Well,
What is that show?
We had one pinch hitter, but for those who don't know the story, I promised Vash that Culture would not Wally Pip him. And for those who don't know what Wally Pipping is, Wally Pip was the guy who decided to take a day off and let this rookie kid play a game. The rookie kid's name was Lou Gehrig, and he played every game for 16 seasons in a row after that, and Wally Pip was relegated to history. So the term in baseball for being replaced because you took a day off is to be Wally Pipped. Well, Culture promised me he would not Wally Pip Vash, and on that basis, we did a pretty good show. You can watch it. It's out there. And then, of course, there's Genre Guys, which we're about to tackle a bunch of fun movies in the next few weeks. Next up, for all you people who like fast cars, we're going to be doing Ford versus Ferrari, which I think is a marvelous movie. And then we're going to be doing the Hallelujah Trail, which is about one of my favorite subjects, whiskey. And, well, it is. And we're actually going to do Mary Poppins. And we're going to do one of my favorite, charming, wonderful movies that most people don't know, directed by the great George Pal, and that is The Seven Faces of Dr. Lowe, with Tony Randall as everything. And then a bunch of other things are on our schedule, too. So watch that and watch them. If you're a member, if you get a membership on, because people keep buying people 50 memberships and all that, on the Pro channel, that's one of your perks, is to see it first over there if you're a member. But then they come here where the amazing VashSky edits and enhances them in his own unique way and at his own unique pace.
By my own unique time.
What's the newest one coming here?
Superman.
Oh,
Superman's
yes.
The one.
Yes. You will believe a man can fly.
Good timing.
Hosted by Marvin Montanaro, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's right. He was our guest host that time.
There you go.
So
should be awesome, and yes, we'll have those shows out.
And then I've been teasing.
Very
I have a new enterprise coming and having some technical difficulties with it, but when it gets working, we'll let everybody know about that too. So
fantastic, Erika. Where do people find you?
You can find us at Erika-Raff, and we vlogged on Sunday. Yeah. We went
awesome.
to a medieval festival at the Nanstein Castle here in Landstuhl, which we did a vlog on earlier last year, but they had a medieval fest over the weekend. So we went and we filmed it, and I just got to edit it and, put it together, which will probably take me another week or so.
Well, hey, you know what? That's completely fine. It is worth the wait. We put the the links to all of the channels that we've featured so far in the chat, and Erika and Raph, obviously, among them, provided by Tom F. this time. Thank you so much for that, and thank you, Go and Shogi, for providing those links before. Awesome stuff. Check them out. If they vlogged, you want to catch that. So definitely subscribe and maybe.
And this is the good part about not being Imagineers. We don't have a deadline. We do it until it's right, and then we put it up there.
That's right.
Yeah,
and you know what? I love that you said that, Lou, because getting things right, that's not only Erika's bag, but it's also somebody else's on the panel, and that being Nolan Thunder. Thunder! Where can the people find you, and what are you working on, and is it almost time for it to be released?
We're getting close. We're getting very close. So, hello, you beautiful people in the audience. If you like video game mysteries and all sorts of internet urban legends, please check out my series, Lost in the Files. It's a mini documentary series with B-movie horror, comedy, and all the knowledge of internet lore around. If you want to find out more, please check it out on my YouTube channel at Nolan Thunder. I am currently in production of a new episode based off an urban legend of artificial intelligence being used in the creation of a Mario game, but it may have been a bit too experimental, as it might be a bit unstable and perhaps malicious. I have been working tirelessly to get this episode out, and I've been showing some sneak previews to some people that I've been seeing around this week. So it's coming, folks. It's getting very, very close, and I promise you, I'm going to try to make it the best video I can. So please, if you want to see more, please check me out on my YouTube channel at Nolan Thunder.
Nolan showed Ron and I the intro for this new video here, and it is profound. And it's like it all became crystal clear why this had been taking as long as it has, because it's worth the wait, folks. It really, really, truly is. He's really putting so much passion into this, and trust me, folks, you want to know when this drops. So hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you know when those things go live right here. Let's see here. We also have one more super chat, which I want to go ahead and get to because, well, it's Marty Snyder.
Marty! Marty, it's your kids. We got to go back to the future. No, never mind.
It's your kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids. Regular contributor on here on T3PO Live. Thank you so much for joining us right now.
One more thing.
Let's go.
One more thing. Everybody get a lot of rest tonight because tomorrow is going to be a busy day with questions from the peanut gallery and the investment community of people like Big Bob, and then as the week goes on with both Netflix and Paramount. So
I literally almost been going
just
48
keep on
hours.
Happening. I tell you. So get some rest. You'll need it.
Going almost 48 hours straight from having touchdown at Sky Harbor here, and I'm like, really? Earnings call tomorrow. Oh boy, that's amazing. But let's go. Fantastic show, everyone. Thank you so much, Marty Snyder, for that. That is awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and get everybody on over Mr. H, which is a show currently in progress. I'm sure Culture Casino's right there, hammering it up with some of his, with his British compatriot right there. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun to listen to and hear and see. Thank you so much for joining us here for such an amazing show. Thank you so much, Wizard. Thank you so much, Brave Place 28, Erika, Blue, Nolan. Thank you. Let's go ahead and get on over there. See you guys.